So
Yes, I love
if
that.
that's scribbling, if that's throwing paint, if that's painting a pretty picture, whatever that looks for like for you, it might not look like painting anything at all. It might just look putting paint on the paper.
Hi everyone, Elle Ballard is here today on the Empowered Global Women in Business podcast with my guest, Lisa Dunford Dickman. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you. Excited for this conversation. Lisa Dunford Dickman is a transformational life coach, art medicine woman. I love art medicine woman definition, and African safari retreat leader. She helps strong, soul centered women go from striving and struggling to fulfilled and flowing as limitless divine creators they already are. Her next transformational Sea to Safari retreat experience, Open to the Magic in South Africa, takes place November 2nd to 10th, 25. And I'm excited to talk about this today. Welcome. What is art medicine? What is it? And how did you start in doing this art medicine work?
So, a few years back, my mother passed away about 8 years ago now,
Mhm.
and it was very sudden. And I came
Sorry.
unmoored. I came kind of untethered. Like
Yeah.
everything I knew as like solid and expected was kind of gone. And it was all very surprising. And I found, um, I always thought it was also, it predated COVID. It was just right before COVID. And
Mm.
I just didn't know what to do with myself. So I started doing all these new things. I started trying oral storytelling classes, and I took an art journaling class. And I just didn't have the preconceived notions about who I was temporarily were suspended by this shock. And I just
Yeah.
thought, I'm going to try new things and I'm going to see what lands. And in this art journaling class, she called on us to I had always collected art supplies, but they had just kind of piled up in my cupboard. I had piles and piles of them that I really never used. And I thought of my mother as the creative one in the family, my sister as the creative one in the family, that I wasn't really that creative. But I tried this art journaling class, and she asked us to draw a self portrait.
Mm.
So I took some of the watercolor pencils I had in the cupboard of non used art supplies and I drew myself. And I was shocked. It looked like a blonde human being. Maybe not exactly me, but not an alien of some sort. I was so surprised that I was able to draw a person. And then the whole course went on like this. I started branching
Wow.
out to watercolors and I would try to draw a landscape and I would look around afterwards and be like, who did that? Who did that? That wasn't me. I don't know how to do that. And it really felt like a gift from my mother. It felt like
Mm.
this gift from her to me, this art and this creativity and this ability to do these things.
Was she
And
an
so I
artist?
she was always creative. She was always
Creative,
painting.
yeah.
She would paint little
Mm.
fruit on
Hmm.
the light covers to match the fruit on the
I
wallpaper, and
love
she'd
it.
make handmade Christmas cards, and she was always so
Oh.
creative. In fact, she was by trade a nurse and
Uh-huh.
then and later on a administrator in healthcare, but growing up, I thought she was an artist. I thought that was her job because she was always creating things. I didn't realize that she was a nurse, in fact, at first, when I was super little. And so it just
Interesting,
felt like
yeah.
she'd given me this gift.
Oh.
And I started using art, not so literally, so not so drawing a picture of something. I started using it to move energy because there were a lot of emotions in this grieving and there was a lot that came up, and it was a way to get out of my body, and it was a way to, once I
Mm.
started doing abstracts, it was a way to abstract expressionism is a way to express yourself through the motions of painting and color and art. And so sometimes you might be beating on the canvas with a
Yeah.
paintbrush, or sometimes you might be flinging it. And it's part of the extension of your expression and feeling those emotions. And what I found was that I could really move through emotions much quicker when I
Mhm.
was using the art to paint them out, to paint it out.
I love it. I love the art as the way to release the emotions
And
and
to
just
really
really
feel them when we
express
don't let
and
ourselves
feel
feel them so
them.
often.
Yeah, just to pause and feel
Yeah.
and express what we are feeling in the moment. My
Yes.
drawing will be totally alien as
Well,
well because I cannot draw.
and that's
But
why when I use it in my coaching, I don't ask them to draw anything. I ask them to express the feeling. So if that's
yes, I
like,
love
if
that.
that's scribbling, if that's throwing paint, if that's painting a pretty picture, whatever that looks for like for you, it might not look like painting anything at all. It might just look putting paint on the paper, canvas.
Yeah, beautiful.
So
Yeah.
eventually it worked so well for me. I eventually took some formal training in art medicine from Alexis Cohen, and I learned to facilitate portal painting so that the canvas becomes a portal to the divine. When you're going through a time of
Beautiful.
transition, there's a multi-layered healing process that's moving with the energy, that's working with the energy, and helping us create a threshold to what we're becoming, to release what is no longer needed,
Yep.
to dream into being the new energy that's coming, and then stepping through this portal as a painting and onto the other side. So there's a 7 to 9 step process in art medicine. And I use it in workshops. I used it to create my own animal oracle cards. That's my free offering on my website.
Nice.
So that
Yeah.
my animal oracles are made with this art medicine process so that they aren't just a picture and an inspiration of animal energy. They are actually a divine transmission.
I love that. What a beautiful way to, yeah, I knew the word art medicine just talked to me being the creative person and doing that through dance as we spoke earlier.
Yes, I feel like you do. I was going to say that. I feel like you do the same thing. You move the emotions with dance.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And it's such an important thing to be able to recognize that we can do that, that we have these tools to do that because it heals us,
It
right?
does.
If I draw something in your art medicine class, through which I release some things, it's such a healing process, and we are
Yes.
only, yeah, and yeah, I love that. That's so. Thank you for sharing that story, and yeah, what a beautiful way to help. And the cards, I know you mentioned them briefly before.
Yes.
Um, Yeah, and I know we just recently connected and our passion connected, the similar, the passionate things, the similar things that we do with international retreats, both of us. And I would love to go to South Africa one of these days with you for sure.
Well, you are definitely invited.
Thank you. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this. Why Africa? I see the animal, the connection there, and the cards that you mentioned. Um, and I've never been, so I've heard
Mm.
it's a beautiful place. But yes, please tell us why Africa.
So, well, before I became a coach, before I
Uh huh.
trained as a life coach, originally with Martha Beck, I was a travel writer. I had written
Oh,
more than
wow.
40 guidebooks for Lonely Planet Travel Company. I had
Wow.
gone deep into the places I loved. I've lived in,
And you lived in,
I
right?
have, I've lived in 5 foreign countries, I think. I've lived um,
Wow.
in Slovakia. I went to part of university in Budapest, Hungary. After college, I
Mm,
lived and worked in Slovakia. We've lived in together with my husband. I've lived in Canada and Korea and the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
And so I have always loved travel. And
Yes.
I was a travel writer before I was an artist, before I was a coach, and I was a traveler. And I've been gathering parts of myself along the way. So I've always loved travel. And then I added writing, and then I added painting, and then I added coaching. And it's really created all of who I am. It really brings in all of who I am. So I still love to travel. I still love to encourage people to explore their world, which I did as a guidebook writer. Now I just also encourage them to explore their inner world as well as their outer world, right? So there came a point where I'd been guidebook writing for 15 years, and it got to be a sense of been there, done that. It was amazing, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Um, and I knew it was time for something else. And I really wanted to be of service in the world. And I wanted to be of more service.
Yeah.
Like guiding people was amazing. But really, I came to know my own transformation and how powerful it is when we can transform these dense energies or these stuck habits or these patterns that we created in childhood for very good reasons. But
Yeah.
as we go along, we have a choice. We can either, as we get older, limit our lives and become more and more comfortable and smaller, or we can expand. We can let go. We can learn. We can grow. And quite often, life will help you with this by providing some big event, some trauma or big change, a loss of a loved one, a career change, a divorce. You'll get the big
Yeah.
universal slaps in the face no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But we can choose to transform through joy. We
Yeah.
can choose to know, okay, I have this yearning to create a bigger business. I have this yearning to do more, but I'm not quite able to get there. What do I need to heal? What do I need to transform to get there? And so that's when I started doing the life coaching and helping people transform those things. And all of my clients are very spirit-led people. They aren't beginners that don't know that, our thoughts create our actions. We've done a lot of the same spiritual books that I know you've read, the courses we've done. And we get the downloads and we start flowing for a little while, but then something in us hits a protection pattern or an upper limit, or, we get
Yeah.
scared. And then we start striving and struggling to do it all ourselves again.
Yeah.
And so I really help women connect to that limitless self, like by healing those parts that are trying to protect them and stepping into what they've always been, a limitless, powerful creator. So I was doing
Yeah.
the coaching, and at the same time, I just loved Africa. I had been the first time myself. And the first time I went this is in Eastern South Africa, I went to Pinda Private Game Reserve, and it felt like coming home to a place I'd never been before. My heart was broken open. It was so easy to see what was real and what was not real. Like this life and death struggle in front of me with these cheetahs and this impala, that's real. What my mother-in-law thinks of me, not so real. And when I was there, I would get a sense of possibility in the world, like of who I could be, who I really was. Like when I was tuned into and connected to that all that is, to that wonder, that oneness, whether you call it God or spirit or universe or Mother Nature. Like when I was connected, I was creating on a whole different level. And I would come home and it would stay with me for a while. And then it would wear off.
Then you need to go back to get some of
Yes.
it
So you'd
again.
have these peak experiences, and I ended up wanting to go back and back and back to Africa. And during the same time, I was building my coaching practice. And I was doing a retreat for my business, and we were talking to our business, as you do. And we asked it, what's next? And the
Mm-hmm.
word Africa came to me. And people in the retreat were like, oh, this means you need to go back. Or this means, and what I realized was what I needed was to be able to bring Africa home with me. So I didn't keep having this peak experience and having it wear off, that I was
Mm-hmm.
connected to that core of that wonder and oneness and all that is all the time, or at least more of the time than not,
Yeah.
so that I didn't have to keep running back to Africa for hits of it. So I spent a year really going deep within and reading more spiritual texts and learning more tools so I could then teach my clients to bring
Right.
that sense
Exactly.
of
Mm-hmm.
being loved home with them. And
Mm-hmm.
then that is when I was ready to hold my Open to the Magic in Africa retreats, because I don't want it to be a peak experience that wears off. I
Mm-hmm.
want
Yeah.
there to be a clear before and after, the clear releasing of what doesn't serve, receiving the new energy and rising into that new energy, and bringing that home with you is much more important to me. Teaching people the tools, transforming the energy, teaching them tools to maintain it at home. So that's why
Wow.
the retreat is a
Beautiful.
container. We have
Mm-hmm.
calls for the months ahead of time, and we have integration calls afterwards, because I don't want it just to be a peak experience. I don't want you to have to go back to Africa, although that's not bad. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But really bringing that change home. The way I invite people
I
in
love
is I
that.
ask them, what would you create if you
Mm-hmm.
knew, like you knew, like you knew, you are so loved and supported?
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
that's my intention with the retreat, is for my guests to learn that real felt sense of what it's like to be adored by the
Mm-hmm.
universe, by the land and the animals, and by me.
Yeah. African safari. Amazing. Yeah.
You
Surrounded
can see
the.
one of my
Yeah.
elephants kind of over my shoulder. He's always with
Mm-hmm.
me, that spirit. And we talk to those animals and we ask them what messages they have for us. And I help
Presents.
my guests
Beautiful.
interpret the messages. And we
I
really
love the
let the land
depths.
and the animal help with the healing.
Yeah, how beautiful. I love the depth of the experience that you create and the container. I really loved before and after, right? Not only just going and coming back, but
Yes,
really that's what transformational experience is.
it is.
I love it so much. And the African safari adds to it, and it's very the art medicine. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Thank you for taking us there. As you were describing it all, I'm like listening to you, and I'm going there with you. So, how do our listeners? How can they find out more about this? Open to the magic.
Yes. So they can go to opentothemagicinafrica.com.
Mm-hmm.
And on there, they can hear stories about a day I spent with a group tracking a leopard that was so elusive, but we got to live his whole day. Or the time that a lion climbed a tree just 20 feet in front of us and put his arm around the tree so human
Wow.
like and
Yeah.
looked at me eye level.
Wow.
And it was like it was saying, I see you.
Let's see.
And
Yeah.
not in some I'm going to eat you kind of scary way.
Yeah.
It was more like I see in your soul. And when you have these experiences, it becomes really hard to stay in that story of separation. That
Mm.
I'm this small self having this small experience, instead of I am one with all that is. I am one with that
Yes.
lion, and I am one with the wonder, and with I am part of nature and God's creation and this
Mm-hmm.
all that is. And it feels a little like cheating, honestly, to take people to Africa, because Africa itself is doing so much of the work, and it's just such a magical place being in the wilds.
Beautiful. So we will post links for this Open to the Magic. And if you're watching the video, we'll be posting in the comments or the audio version of this podcast. And then definitely check that out. It's on my list for sure. I am coming.
Yay.
One of these days. I would love to check it out for myself. And yeah, it's just it sounds magical, and I'm sure it is. It's a very, very exciting. I want to talk about you building a business as a woman, and this is Empowered Global Women in Business podcast. And I wanted for our listeners who are thinking to open a business, who are thinking maybe to transition, to pivot, or maybe to transition to a bigger level, or whatever it is for them. What are some of the lessons in your journey that you have learned building a business as a woman on your own terms, following your passion?
Yes. So I think the biggest lesson for me is giving, I really think you need to give yourself permission to be all of who you are.
Hmm.
Like your life is not separate from your business. Your
Yeah.
interests are not separate from your business. So I went through phases after I stopped travel writing where I tried to be only a writer, or I tried to be only an artist, or I tried to be only a coach. And it just didn't work because it's not all of who I am. So,
Beautiful.
like with
Yeah.
you and your lifelong interest in dance, and
Yep.
now it gets to be a part of your retreats, you need to give yourself permission to include
Yeah.
all of who you are in what you're creating in the world. Like, because
Mm.
that's when you're at your most powerful.
So beautifully said. Thank you. Yes. So
And
true.
and you bring it into your marketing and you're like,
Yeah.
I've got lions and elephants everywhere. I
Yeah.
like bring
Yeah.
it into
Yeah.
your bring the things you love. I worked with one client who was a coach, and it turned out he loved deep sea diving. And we worked together,
Mm.
and what a great metaphor. What a great metaphor for going deep into yourself and learning and seeing what's undiscovered.
Yes.
And once he
Hmm.
started to incorporate his own interests into his marketing and his
Yeah.
messaging, he really took off. Like giving, like, I think so. And as women, I think so often we try to take care of everyone else and everything else.
Yep.
And we only let ourselves have permission to have this much desire. Like,
Yeah.
I can only have this
Hmm.
much desire. And that's why giving yourself permission even to want what you want, whether it's to go on a transformative safari in Africa, or an incredible dance inspired excursion in Morocco, like just giving yourself
Exactly.
permission to
Permission.
want what you want. I think permission is such a
Mm.
big word. Permission to be all of who you are, permission to want what you want. Like, if
Yes.
something doesn't feel right to you, and it's a prescribed business method,
Hmm.
don't do it.
Hmm.
Your inner GPS is your guidance,
Yeah.
and give
Yes.
yourself permission to follow it.
Hmm. I
That's
love
been one of my biggest
that.
lessons, giving myself permission.
Yeah, giving yourself permission. And it's we're living this life to be living fully and unapologetically, right? And sometimes when we are thrown away by what immediately happened, which might not never happen before, or after, um, we kind of get stuck into that. So just learning to really separate, right? And just
Yes.
and just embracing and giving permission. Yes,
Well, and
yes.
we need
uh,
we need space and time and quiet to do that.
yeah.
We
Mhm.
need time to reflect and time to look at our
For
business
sure.
and look at what we're
Yeah.
creating and to
Yeah.
hear that voice within us. Like, if
Yeah.
we don't give ourselves time, if we're so busy caring for everyone else
Mm-hmm.
and never doing things for ourselves, that really actually hurts your business and your family, because you're not giving from overflow. You're giving from like burnt out energy, and that's never good for anyone.
No. Yeah. Not for anyone. Thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tip and lesson. You don't hear that often, and it's amazing how many conversations we have. It's always these beautiful things that we can implement and add. So thank you for that. Now I want to move us to the rapid fire questions.
I'm ready.
Oh. Awesome. So my first question is, your favorite book name is?
A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson.
Beautiful. Love it. Summer or winter?
Summer for sure.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Favorite international destination to visit, which I can guess.
Yes, I do think it's South Africa, but that's very hard. I also love Slovakia. But that's very hard. Sometimes it's the place I've been last, but I would definitely say South Africa.
Yeah. Mm, I love it. And final question is, one thing that you have learned about yourself recently. One thing that you have discovered or learned about yourself recently.
So I've learned recently that I thought that I wasn't really great at putting myself out there and being visible.
Mhm.
And this season, I've been to a lot of events in the first 6 months, and I've been lit up by meeting amazing new people like you.
Thank
I've
you.
explored new ideas. I've had so much fun. And I said to my husband, "Aren't you proud of me? I'm really outside of my comfort zone." He goes, "Honey, it doesn't look like you're remotely outside of your comfort zone." And so what I learned was that some of the things we think are our inherent characteristics are things we've learned from society or our parents. The things aren't really
Mhm.
us. Like I'm
Yeah.
really good at talking to people. I'm really good at standing up in public and sharing. And I just kind of learned that that was scary or that you shouldn't do that because you might be rejected. And that was directly from my mom, and
Mm,
her own fears. And so,
yeah.
really taking the time to see what's yours and what's not
Beautiful.
yours is well
Hmm.
worth it.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for playing.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Thank you. Yes, and thank you for taking the time today to speak. This was amazing. I knew it's going to be great conversation. We're sharing so many wonderful passions.
We do
And
really have a lot in common, which I love so much.
I love
The
that so
international
too.
travel, the
Yeah,
creativity of art and
creativity.
dance. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Thank you, Lisa Dunford Dickman. What is the final thing that you want to leave us with today?
I would really just like your listeners to think what they need to give themselves permission for. What is their
Beautiful.
true desires? Because their desires matter.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. And this was, of course, Empowered Global Women in Business podcast. And we will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much, my friend. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.